Hello, and we are back for learning the double stitch. There's only one stitch in tatting. It's called the double stitch. And I'm going to start teaching you by doing a ring. Some people do chain first. It doesn't really matter as long as you're learning. So we're going to do the ring first. So if you watched the last videos, you know all about your supplies and you learned how to wind a shuttle. So we're going to start with one shuttle wound in your choice of size thread. This is, I believe, a size 10. And you want to start with thicker. The smaller the number, the thicker the thread. So a size 5 is thicker than a 10, a 3 is thicker than a 5, and so on. If you find 10, I would recommend starting with 10. If you find 10 is too thin and you're having a hard time seeing the flip or getting it to flip, go thicker. And then come back to your thinners. So I have been tatting for a little while now, and I tat mostly in a size 20. So, do what you want to do. So to start, we're going to cut it from the ball. You can see there's no ball attached to this shuttle. This is distractingly beautiful, so I'm going to move it. It's very gorgeous, but I'm going to move it, and I'm going to move this one too, and maybe that'll help my camera focus on my hands, because this is where the magic happens. Okay, so you want to take off a little bit of thread. You want to unwind just a little bit of thread. And you want to start in a pinch. Okay, you want to pinch the thread together. I pinch between my thumb and forefinger. If you are a crocheter or a knitter, perhaps you're used to letting your ring finger be more up in the air, so you pinch between your thumb and second finger. Doesn't really matter. You're just holding the thread. Then you go around the rest of your hand. You can go clear around your pinky. You can go just around these three, whatever. You need at least, I would say at least 3. And you want to come back into the pinch. Like I said, I pinch between my thumb and first finger, so I need to get back to my pinch because that feels very strange to me. So thumb and first finger, around, back into the pinch. And now I have just this tiny little bit, so I need to actually let out a little more thread because my shuttle doesn't really move. So I want about that much thread. I'm a bad judge, so maybe 6 inches, let's say. I don't know. I'm a bad judge of that. Okay, so this is called a loom on your left hand. Like I said, this is the pinch. You hold the thread in the pinch. And then there are 2 halves or hitches, first hitch and second hitch, when making the double stitch. The most important thing and the hardest thing when making a ring is to learn the flip. This is the flip. Let me go back to the loom just a little bit because this feels, again, weird because this is not how I hold my thread. I have a little trouble with my hands sometimes, and so I use this foldy part of my knuckle here on the inside to kind of hold this little bit of thread sometimes, so I need to choke up on that. My loom's a little too big, so I just pull on the shuttle thread, makes your loom smaller, and just kind of move that back, and then I just sort of hold it kind of tucked under like that. Okay? This is the space between which my shuttle is going to work. The working shuttle is going to go in and out. So you need this space to be open. Okay? So the first half of the double stitch, you scoop. It doesn't matter how many fingers you get into that scoop. You can put your whole fist in. You can put your whole wrist in if you like. You're just making a loop for your shuttle to work through. Okay? I should say something about the tail. You're just holding it in the pinch. You're just holding it out of the way. Just let that sucker be out of the way. Okay? So go around, back in the pinch. Hold it loosely but tightly. I know that's an oxymoron, but you don't want to be white knuckling it and holding it so tight. If you find yourself being tight, take a breath, relax your shoulders. You'll get this, I promise. Okay, so scoop, go under, fell off. Let's try again. Scoop, go under, and then back over and through the loop you just made. See that? See? You're making a loop of thread. Okay, now see what just happened? It happened and I didn't even say anything. It flipped. If you pull your shuttle thread tight and lift your middle finger at the same time, it flips that stitch. Let me go back and unflip it. See, this is unflipped. Oh, nope, that's flipped again. Come on, unflip, darling. Okay. So that's the first half of the double stitch. So you just pull that down. You want to leave yourself a little bit of a tail to work with so you don't completely lose it. But if you pull that down, that is your first hitch, your first stitch. I'm going to get the second one in here because it does get easier. It's a little wonky to deal with when it's just out in the air and just one leg on there. Right now it's got one pant leg on, so it's hopping around. You'll see what I mean in 1 second. The second half of the double stitch, first half you scooped, went under, over. Second half, no scooping, go over and back under through that loop. Okay? Then again, see how it's unflipped? Now watch, I'm going to pull the shuttle thread tight. See it pop over? That's exactly what you want it to do, and it kind of looks like an upside down pretzel. That's exactly what we want to happen. And then we take it and we keep pulling and we snug it down next to his buddy. Now, I'm going to try this. Hopefully this works. Got a little visual aid here, little board to help me. Let's see if this works. Had to take it off my loom here. All right, now. Well, I don't know if you can rightly see that at all. Focus, little buddy, focus. There you go. See the two legs? 1 and 2. That is your first double stitch. Okay, and like I said, let me move this back out of the way. The tail just needs to stay out of the way at this point. I usually keep it on top because if you have it the other way, you can not have your stitches slide, and you want your stitches to slide. That's how we check if we did it correctly. Hold those 2 stitches we just made. Well, the first half and the second half, excuse me, not 2 stitches. The first half and the second half of 1 stitch we just made. Hold that gently in your pinch and pull on your shuttle thread. If the thread moves, you did it correctly. And then to open up your loom, pull underneath your thumb, pull that thread, and that will open up your loom again. See? Pull your shuttle thread. And just a word here, we don't want to pull on our shuttle. That's a bad habit to get into because some of our finer shuttles, we don't want to put the stress on the post. So we don't want to be yanking on our shuttles themselves. We want to yank on the thread. But there is our first double stitch. Oh, my visual aid's still in the way. Sorry about that. Nobody said anything. Just kidding. You're only listening to me rattle on. So let's get on with it. Let's do another stitch, okay? Because this is a completed first half, or completed full stitch. You have the first half and the second half and a pant leg. Pant leg, belt loop. Lord, I can't even get my words right today. This may be a garbage video. But pant leg, belt loop. My sister said they look like little bottoms when I was trying to teach her. But we're going to go with pant leg. Okay? So let's do that again. So the first half again, get everything kind of situated. And you just kind of want to loosely hold those in the pinch. You don't want to mash them down so you've got a death grip on them so that your blood vessel, your fingers turning white underneath. Just gently hold in the pinch. We've checked to make sure it moves, so we know that we did it right. That means both stitches have flipped and they're basically made a slip knot, and that's what we want. So we're going to make another stitch. So we need to scoop, go under, back through that loop you just made, over, okay, and then this is the important part. Pull the shuttle thread tight, see how it flipped, and then just pull it on down. That's when you lift up your middle finger and pull it, and you want it to snug pretty close to his buddies in your pinch. Come on. There she blows. Okay, so you want us to snug it pretty close. You don't want to be like super on top of it, and you don't want to pull this stitch too hard because it'll make it smaller. You're trying for uniformity. You want all your stitches kind of looking the same. It will come with practice, that I do promise. It's hard to get from the very get-go. So give yourself permission to not be perfect from the very beginning. So there's the first half of the second stitch. Okay. Now the second half of the second stitch, we scooped and went under, over. Now we're going to go over through that loop. See what it's doing there? See? Now I'm going to try to take my middle finger completely out of it, just so you can see what the thread is doing. Pull that shuttle thread tight, and then as you lift back into position, see how it flipped? That's what you want it to look like, that upside down pretzel looking thing. And there are 2 double stitches. Yay you! And you count them as complete double stitches. So you have first half, second half, 1 stitch, first half, second half, 2 stitches. I find it's easier for me. It's moving my whole camera now. I find it's easier for me to count the belt loops. This is a little dark thread to get this close to do the belt loops on, but I find it's easier for me to count the belt loops or the purl bumps, if you will, if you're a knitter. It's easier to find the purl bumps. So there's first half, second half, belt loop. First half, second half, belt loop. I would recommend not taking it off of your hand until you're done when you're just beginning, because it is very hard to figure out where everything goes and get it all back where it's supposed to when you're beginning. Okay, like I said, that tail, just let it be out of the way. We will do a later video of tatting over tails and that sort of thing. Just for now, don't worry about them. Try not to worry about them, okay? All right, so if your loom is getting too small, oops, got that in the shot again. It just wants to be on camera. If your loom is getting too small, pull on that thread underneath your thumb, pull you out some more thread, make it bigger. If it's too big, pull on your shuttle thread, make it smaller, okay? We're going to keep going so that we can demonstrate how to close a ring, okay? So again, scoop, under, over, pull the shuttle thread tight, lift that middle finger or whatever other finger that is that's not in the pinch, back, and pull it down. This is the beginning of 3. Now go over, under, pull the shuttle thread tight. There, that stitch flipped. And you can always tell by holding them gently in the pinch and moving your thread. If your thread doesn't move, they are not flipped and you have to start over. So there's 3. Now scoop, fell off, sorry, scoop, under, come on, under, over, pull the shuttle thread tight, and down. Second half, over, under, pull the shuttle thread tight. See it flip? Did you see it flip? Let's go back. Okay, there's unflipped. I'm going to pull the I'm going to loosen the tension on my middle finger on my loom. Pull the shuttle thread and you'll see it flip. See it flip? And then down next to his buddies. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double stitches. See that? 4 double stitches. Congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back. You just made 4 double stitches. Now I'm going to talk about something really quick. Picots. Sometimes we make them accidentally, and here's how we do that. Eventually we're going to want to make them on purpose, but sometimes in our trying to get our tension right, we make an accidental picot. So scoop, under, over, pull the shuttle thread, pull it down, second half over, under, pull the shuttle thread tight, pull that down. See how we made a little loop accidentally? We left too much space in between that double stitch and that double stitch. That's an accidental picot. We're going to want to make those on purpose eventually. But if you make them right now at this stage of the game, it's fine. Just know that that can happen, and you can either retro tat or rip it or whatever you'd like to do and take it out and make that flat, or just leave it. It's fine. We will talk about picots in a later video, and like I said, you're going to want to make them on purpose eventually. But for this video, we're just doing the basic ring, and then the next video we'll do a chain. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scoop, under, over, pull it tight and down, over, under, pull it tight and down. I'm going to try and do it real time so you can kind of see the very slight movement that middle finger actually does. It's very, very tiny. Okay, like I said, make your loom bigger or smaller as you need to. Let some thread on and off your shuttle, whatever you need to do. And of course I did too much, so let's crank it back 1. Now, sometimes I have to use the shuttle with the pick pointed to me just because I can't find a happy medium on how much thread. Just be careful when you do that. Like I said, the pick lines up with the fleshy part of your hand really perfectly. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So that was in another video. So, okay. Scoop, under, over, pull the shuttle thread down, over, under, pull it tight. See that flip? Pull it down. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 3 more so we get 10. Okay. Okay. Scoop, under, over, over, under. Pull it tight down. There's 1. Under, scoop, under, over, pull it tight, down, over, under, pull it tight, down. Okay, my loom's getting small, so I need to pull. And when you pull from under your thumb, you want to hold as many stitches as you can in the pinch so they don't go moving around on you and unflip. They do that sometimes. They're tricky. Don't let them. Last stitch. Scoop, under, over, pull, and down, over, under, pull, and down. Okay, so now we have 10 double stitches. Ooh, I lost my little, oh no, the catastrophes. Here we go. Come on, get back in there. You get up there like that, and everybody's happy. Well, not everybody, because it would be really great if that would work. There you go. Here we go. Let's use something else to point with. How about? Let's use the pretty. We're going to count belt loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know I skipped over the picot. I did that on purpose. We're not going to worry about counting that perfectly right now, but that's a double stitch and that's a double stitch, so we're just counting those as 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All we did was count the belt loops. That's 10 double stitches. Okay, and our pattern that we're not really making, but our imaginary pattern has told us that we need a ring of 10 double stitches. So we now have a ring of 10 double stitches. Okay, but it doesn't look like a ring yet, so we have to make it into a ring. So gently pull on your shuttle thread, holding as many stitches as you can in the pinch, and pull it. Keep your fingers in there. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. Until there's no slack left and all of your fingers are out. Now this is not completely closed. So what you want to do, if it's a large ring, you can hold the ends together so they come together a little more naturally. But hold them in the pinch and pull, and if this was straight, and it's going to look off center because the picot is really soon, but if you hold it in the pinch and kind of pull around, you're kind of making the circle close. So you're pulling down and around, and you want to pull toward about 7 o'clock. If this is noon, you're pulling towards 7. So hold them in the pinch, around and down towards 7. Now normally I'm not sitting at a table, so when I'm holding mine naturally in my hand, it's like this, and I'm still going around to 7, but I'm starting, from 3 o'clock or so. So just kind of a little FYI. So you just pull that gently, and then we all do this little floofy dance that we just sort of do this little dance to stretch it back out or make it exactly the shape we want. And we all do it. It's a little floofy dance. But there is our ring of 10 double stitches. I'm going to have to tighten that. There's our first ring of 10 double stitches. Yay! You! Congratulate yourself. Great job. I'm so proud of you. All right, we're going to move that one more time. I hope that's making it. Then just leave yourself a little bit. Get on camera, Ange, and then they can see you. Leave yourself just a little bit of space. Doesn't matter. Just pick a space that looks nice to you and go, that looks like a ring needs to be there. Start your pinch all over again. Make your loom all the way around, back in the pinch. Ooh, sorry, it got really windy. I hope that didn't get picked up. Back around into the pinch. Get everything set up again. Just leave her dangled. Doesn't matter. It's a tail. Pretend it's a tail. It's in your way. Don't worry about it. Okay? Chuck up a tiny bit on there. Got too much going on? And then just start again. Scoop, under, over, oh, and drop your shuttle and start over entirely. Okay, here we go. Ready? For real this time. I'll just leave it long. Scoop, under, back through that hole you just made, over, pull it tight, down into your pinch. 1, roll half a 1, over, under, 2, scoop, 3. Oops, sorry, 2, can't count. 3. See? And you just see the slight movement. 1, 2, 3. Just see the slight movement of my middle finger that's going, and see how I counted? I'm just counting belt loops. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes I can turn it up, and this it won't show on camera at all, but I can kind of see the little bumps, and I just count. Okay, there's 2 bumps, that's 1. There's 2 bumps, that's 2. There's 2 bumps, that's 3. But it's hard to see on this. And let's just do a few more. Scoop, under, over, pull it tight, down, over, under, pull it tight, down. Okay. Now sometimes when you're closing a ring, especially if you're closing a ring with smaller thread, and especially if that thread happens to be Lisbeth brand, you can have this little, I don't know if it'll do it, of course, on camera. See how it's twisting? It's got like a little twist in the back there. Lisbeth is notorious for that. And one of the things you can do is keep it on your finger as long as possible until all of your fingers are out. Now I've made just a 4 double stitch with pretty thick thread. So this is not going to close at all prettily, whatever. It's not going to look good. But just to show you here, what you can do, hold on, let me open that just a hair before we get going here. What you can do to help it open if you make a mistake is called posting, and this is sort of an advanced thing to do. Not really, but you can pretend and impress your friends. Posting just means to take it from the front and put it toward the back. And so now your thread is coming out the back side of your work. See that? And again, like this one's not going to close very pretty, but that's okay. And then you would just keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. And sometimes there's that, it'll start twisting right here and just twist, twist, twist into a big honkin' messy knot. Ooh, see, it's a very, very tiny ring. Little four double stitch ring. Itty bitty. But what you can do right before you close and right before you post or right after you post, and you want to do this quite often, especially if you're working with Lisbeth, is just let your shuttle dangle and take the twist out. Just let it twist until it stops and then put it back in your hand. Because you have wound it on to the shuttle, you've added twist. Because you're now winding and unwinding the shuttle, you're adding twist. Because you're winding it about your hand and weaving it in and about your hand, you're adding twist. So everything you're doing is adding twist. There's no way to stop the twist completely. It just is the nature of tatting. Get used to it. I mentioned accidental picots. Basically, when you're practicing and you're in your practices here, I would tell you start with maybe 10 double stitches. Make as many as you want. Start with 20 if you want, and then go down to 4 or 5, and but you're aiming for consistency. You want them to look consistent. You want the stitches to be the same size all the way around. And I did a pretty good job on this one. Usually I don't. So that's a huzzah for me. Normally they're not very good. Let's see. I got some fuzzy ones. That's always an extra little blessing. But see, like when I closed this one, I had an extra little bumper do over there and an extra little something. They're not perfectly perfect. You can practice your tension. See, there's a little extra something there too. And you can just practice your tension. That's all that I'm saying. Practice your tension. I do have a tip for you when making an especially large ring. You can wind some of the thread about your pinky. So I'll show you that real quick because you might want to do that with our little practice piece. So you make your loom as normal. Take off a little extra and open up your loom a bit. Let's see how I do. I have to think about this. Okay, this is how I do it. I just put it on my fingers and I pull that underneath thread and I just wind some on my pinky like that. And then as I'm tatting, let me get a stitch on here so it holds it so it's not sliding out of my fingers here. Okay. Then as I'm tatting along, I can take it from here instead of winding and unwinding on my shuttle and opening and closing the loom. When you open and close your loom repeatedly, you put a lot of tension on that last stitch. So if I'm constantly pulling this to open and close it and feed myself more and get myself less, this makes that last stitch kind of smaller. And of course it won't do it now because why would it? But it makes that last stitch get really tight, and it has the tendency then when you go to close your loom, close your ring, that sometimes it'll flip or stick funny in the end and kind of lay funny when you're closing the ring. So a good tip for that is just put some on your pinky, and then you can just unwind it from there. And sometimes I have to take off the whole loom and start over, but it's a lot easier to unwind from your pinky than it is to constantly do that and wind it back up when you're just making a ring of, say, 32 double stitches or something ginormous. Most of the time beginners don't do quite that many, but I will say that I have a little practice thing. Go to Handy Hands. I'll put the link under my video, but make the earring. All you need to do is 32 stitches, 6 stitches of picot, and 6 stitches. Actually, you start there. You start with 6 stitches of picot, 6 stitches, turn it upside down, 32 around, and that's it. You made an earring. Very simple, very easy to do. In theory, that 32 is a big number, but we'll come back to that too in a later video. Thank you to Handy Hands for giving me permission to show this online. It's the Sand Dollar Pendant adapted by Kendra Goodnow. There's lots of good information we're going to go over in a later video. We're going to talk about how to read a pattern. But for now, if you're just wanting some practice, start with these 2 rings. Make a ring of 6 picot 6 and another one of 32. Very simple, very easy to do. And if you don't want to do an earring pattern and you just want to practice, well, I've got a loom on there. My goodness, I had a bunch off of there, didn't I? Then I would say to just, oh my, look at there, I flipped. Oh goodness, that we got to retro tat that. Oh my. See, that's just a big mess right there. And now I can't retro tat. Trust me, I'm an expert retro tatter. I retro tat more than I tat, I think. At least some days. Some days you have that, where you just can't seem, you're all thumbs. Well, maybe you won't. Maybe you will be an expert from jump, but I do. I have a lot of whoopsies and oopsie daisies, and I didn't mean that. But this is real time, and so you see the just slight movement of my middle finger there. And I don't even know how many stitches that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But see how that 7th stitch is smaller than that one because I've got a lot more tension on that one. You want to practice making consistent. This is not consistent. Okay, I'm going to post my shuttle. Hold them as tight as I can, or as much as I can in the pinch, until I get all the way down. And then pull, and then around to 7. And then we all do the little foofy dance. And there you are. That one's not too bad. But you can tell it's not perfectly consistent. But I'd give myself a A-. And if I were judging it and it was yours, I'd give you an A+, because you're just beginning. And we're always our own worst critics. So there you go. So just make yourself a bunch of rings. I would say keep these, put a date on them, and then keep them so you can refer back to them later when you're more advanced and you can see the progress that you've made. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. As always, remember that you are the master of the thread. You have opposable thumbs and scissors. Have a great day, everybody.